Okay, thank you for getting back with us here. And if you remember from session one, I hope you've watched that. And there were some things that we wanted you to keep in mind here about that you would always have issues. Unresolved issues create separation. Stop looking at what's wrong with your mate and put your energies into learning and about the need for significance, acceptance, and sense of belonging. Now I want to get back to the communication side. We've kind of built a base that you see how powerful this need for love is, and now you're going to see how that need relates to communication. So why is this need so important to communication? Well, since our greatest need for love is for love, then our greatest fear is to be unloved or to be rejected. So that's the opposite. We have a need for love, our greatest need, our greatest fear is to be rejected. Now, we grow up knowing that we listen to important people. We just kind of learn that through life. Now, when we are talking with another person and when we feel like, and we're talking about an issue, and we feel like that we're not being listened to, then that is the invalidation that we talked about, and you're going to begin to feel unimportant. What's your greatest need? To feel important. So through this communication process, if I begin to get a sense that what I'm saying, and I'm not valued for what I have to say, and I'm not valued as a person, then the fight is on. And that's what's going to lead to all your fights, is you're not feeling significant and important, you're not feeling accepted, or you're not feeling like you have a sense of belonging. Now, here's what happens in a marriage. Okay? You'll relate to this. A man does something that upsets his wife, that hurts his wife, and so she brings it up to him. And she tells him that she's hurt, she's upset, or whatever. And here's what the typical man will do. Here's what I've done a lot in the past. Oh, honey, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just got busy. I got distracted. In other words, I'm going to go through this long explanation as why I did or didn't do what I should have done. And then I'm going to top it off with, and I promise never to do that again as long as I live. You ever done that? Well, we all have, I'm sure. Now, but she's still angry. Right? We don't get it. We just don't understand. It's kind of like, well, God, it's this woman you gave me. I don't know what's wrong with her. So, in other words, we've explained why we didn't do it. We've apologized for it. We promised never to do it again. But she's been invalidated. Okay? And here's how. Think back. He has hurt her in some way. She brings it up. He doesn't even address how his behavior has affected her. He just jumps into this apology, this explanation, and this promise never to do it again. But he's never acknowledged how he has hurt her. And that's why she feels invalidated, and that's why we guys have heard a million times, you don't get it. You're not listening to me. So what I want to teach you here is a method of communication that will eliminate the escalation, the invalidation, the negative interpretation, and the need for withdrawal. And it's simply called the speaker-listener technique. Now, we've got two folks, right? We've got a speaker and a listener. And there's something very, very important that you've got to keep in mind about if we're going to have good communication. And that is, we must feel safe. Now, I'm not talking necessarily just about physical safety, that somebody's going to say something and the other one's going to get up and hurt them, although that can happen. But I'm talking about emotional safety most of all, that I'm not going to share something with you that you're going to turn around and use against me somewhere in this conversation or somewhere down the road. Okay? So James 1:19 said, let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. Now, in this speaker-listener technique, we have speaker rules, we have listener rules. Now, here's the speaker rules. First off is that you keep your statement brief. Right? Keep your statement brief. Because if you don't, you will talk about what they did yesterday and last week, last month. You'll go all the way back to 1942 if you don't keep your statement brief. So we're going to keep our statement brief, and we're going to talk about one issue and one issue only. If you don't, you'll wind up in a big circle. So keep your statement brief, talk about one issue only, and I want you to state your issue in a particular way. Okay? We call it the XYZ. When you did X in situation Y, I felt, okay? So when you did such and such, I felt such and such. See, that's not an attack. There's no need to yell and scream. There's no need to get all bent out of shape over that. When your mate says, you know, when you did this, this is the way I felt. Okay, you got the speaker rule. Keep it brief. Talk about one issue and state it in the way, when you did this, this is the way I felt. Now here's the listener rule. All the listener can do is paraphrase back what you heard. It's not time for an apology. It's not time for an excuse, an explanation, any of that. Okay? We have one thing and one thing only that we're trying to accomplish at this point. And that's what I call getting connected. Getting connected, that the speaker knows, that the listener understands exactly what they are talking about and exactly how they feel. And again, no explanations and no apologies. Now, don't hear me saying that we never apologize, but not now. We're trying to get connected. Now, I want to give you an example. We'll call this Susie and Bill. I'm going to play Susie and talk to Bill. I'm going to say, Bill, when you take a shower, leave your dirty clothes, your dirty underwear on the floor for me to pick up. It really makes me angry. Okay? And then she stops. Now, I want to explain something here. I purposefully use the word angry. And it's okay to use that word, but we've got to dig deeper. See, we don't get angry unless we first have an expectation. Okay? We have an expectation. The expectation is not met. That's what creates the anger. If you remember, Jesus cleaned out the temple, and he had a goal. He had an expectation. He said, my house is to be a house of prayer, but you have turned it into a den of thieves. Right? And his anger was legitimate. So, again, when Susie talked, she said, that really makes me angry. But if Bill could process that quick enough and respond back to Susie in this way and say, honey, so what I'm hearing you say is when I take a shower and leave my dirty clothes there in the bathroom floor for you to pick up, you're feeling unappreciated. And you're feeling more like a maid than a wife and a little bit unloved, aren't you? She's going to say, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling. So you've got to dig. You know, we can say, again, we were angry, we were upset, but we've got to dig and find the root. Okay? And again, it's always going to be associated with significance, acceptance, and sense of belonging, not being loved. So we've got to go back and forth till we can get to that place. Now, I've got a question for you. Now that Bill understands how his behavior affects Susie, that when he does that, she feels unloved, unappreciated, more like a maid than a wife, what's Bill going to do the next time he takes a shower? He's going to pick up his clothes. Why? Because he doesn't want his wife to feel unloved and unappreciated. Okay? Now, this is very important. If Bill doesn't get connected with her on how she really feels about this issue, he may pick his clothes up for a few days just so he doesn't listen to Susie do this. Okay? That's the wrong motivation. That's a selfish motivation. Bill needs to pick up his clothes so that the wife that he loves does not feel unloved. Okay? Then he's motivated to change his behavior. Now, with that said, now that he gets it, now that we're connected, How many times should we have to deal with this issue? 10? 5? No, one time. And that's the way that we deal with the unresolved. And you'll be amazed that a lot of these, that sounds like a simple thing, leaving her dirty clothes, leaving his dirty clothes in the floor. But these things add up. Okay? These things add up. And then Susie is going to either explode or implode, one of the two, when these things build up. So speaker rules, keep your statement brief, one issue at a time, and state it in such a way, when you did this, I felt this. The listener rule, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it'll go like this. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, so we want to go back and forth till the speaker knows the listener is completely connected and they really get it. And again, work through the anger, get down to the root that you're feeling unloved, unappreciated, unwanted, insecure, whatever. That's the real issue, and you're going to see that more later on down the road. Now, I want us to practice here for a minute and on this. And I'm going to practice the wrong way first, because I think it will help you to see this. Here's the speaker. When you spend so much time on your phone, it really upsets me. Here's the listener. Well, I don't spend any more time on my phone than you do. Is that getting connected? No, that is not getting connected, but that's what we do a lot of times. Here, let's do another one. When you spend all your time with the kids, I really feel left out. Well, I don't spend near as much time with the kids as I used to. I mean, I'm getting a whole lot better about that. Okay? Is that getting connected? No, it's not. When I come home from work and you just barely even acknowledge I'm home, I just feel like I wish I'd stayed at work. Well, now you know how busy I am. I mean, I'm cooking supper and I've got the kids, and see how this is not getting connected? That's why that couples don't get anywhere. Now, let's practice the right way. Here's a speaker. Same issues. When you spend so much time on your phone, I get upset. So what I'm hearing you say is when I'm always on my phone, you're really feeling kind of left out and unimportant, aren't you? And they're going to say, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. So again, you go back and forth, exploring these feelings so that you can get connected. Now, something we haven't talked about yet, after we get connected, then you can move to a solution. Back to the dirty clothes in the floor. Maybe there's no clothes hamper in the bathroom. So where a solution is going to be, partly solution anyway, is to have a clothes hamper in there. In this situation, if it were over the phone, then we're going to make some plans to turn that phone off or leave it somewhere else and set aside time. And you may need to tell your friends, don't call me between 6 and 8 in the evening, because I'm not going to answer my phone. You need to make that clear, because you need to do the things that you need to do in order to make your mate feel loved. Now, let's do another one that we talked about. So when you spend so much time with the kids, I really feel left out. The listener says, so when I'm always with the kids, you're feeling disconnected, aren't you? And maybe a little bit unloved and not part of the family. And he's going to say, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. So again, we go back and forth till we know how the other one really feels. And once we know that, then we are motivated. We are motivated to change our behavior. And one more. When I come home and you barely acknowledge, I feel like I had stayed at work, and you come back, and so you don't feel appreciated, and you don't really feel like anybody cares about you, don't you? And you say, yes, that's how I feel. And so that's the way that we practice the right way. I'm going to do some more wrong ways so that you can really get this. When you're always telling everyone what to do, it really upsets me. Well, listen, I'm the man of the house, and that's just the way it's going to be, and you just need to get over it, okay? Is that getting connected? Another one. When you don't spend any time with me, I feel lonely. Well, now, you shouldn't feel that way. I mean, I still love you. I told you when I married you I love you. If anything changes, I'll let you know, okay? When you put everything else before me, I feel like you don't care. Well, no, you just don't need to be so sensitive. Okay? That's not getting connected, and you'll never solve anything that way. So this is the end of this session. Practice. There's some things I want you to keep in mind. Remember, our greatest need is to feel significant, accepted, and have that sense of belonging. When someone does not listen to me, one of these needs or all these needs are not being met. And we must have emotional safety if we're going to communicate, that I'm not going to share something with you and you beat me up with it. Speaker rules: keep your statement brief. Talk about one issue stated when you do this. This is the way I feel. Listener rule: paraphrase back what you heard with no apologies, no excuses. Just try to get connected. So practice these. These can change your relationship. I could tell you story after story about it almost looks like a miracle. So practice on these. Until next time, God bless.